Hey, Brian from Garage Mahal. Got my grandson Aiden here. Say hi.
Hi.
And I am working on a 2018 Jeep Wrangler, and it has a frozen wheel bearing on both sides. So I've been unable to get this out with a slide hammer, sledgehammer, all the tricks that you see online. So we bought two tools. This is the SGT wheel bearing removal tool.
Is the option.
And then this one, basically, you can see the long extension arm. This you basically hammer with a sledgehammer. You connect it onto the wheel hub, and you can tell it is nice and beefy. So we're going to try that as a second option. But since we have both tools, we're going to try both out, and we see what happens, and we go from there. So stay tuned. Okay, so I basically have this set up. And one thing I notice is you have to use kind of like a pry bar to keep this from rolling whatever way you're doing it. And I have it set up pretty good. I'll give you a close-up here in a second. But basically, so far, I can definitely see some movement. And I got to back off a little bit because it started to roll. And you'll see what I mean when you get some close-ups on this.
Is it doing good?
Yeah, just be careful. Okay, so I am using one of the dust shields bolt areas so I can kind of get that into place. So let me just make sure we got that set up properly, get that at the right height. And basically what I've been doing is kind of rolling this up a little bit, so we're trying to hit that spot dead center. And I'll get you another camera angle in a second here. And then as soon as that touches, this is where I want to use a pry bar to kind of help keep that center and start moving that slowly but surely. And you can already see a gap. Thank goodness, this has been a nightmare. You can already see a gap forming on that wheel bearing. So we are going to spray some WD. On that gap that's forming to help move that out a lot better. And then we'll give it one more crank. And then you can see how that moves. And this is 22 millimeter, in case you were wondering. And then, okay, so hopefully you can kind of get a good angle on that. But holding the pry bar. And then we are just moving that slowly but surely down. And it's going to roll off on me. So we're going to back up. Okay, we're going to move this down and put it on one of the brake ears, because I feel like there's movement coming out of this, so we can definitely start widening our area up. And again, we'll get this pry bar and to kind of hold that in place. And then you can see that frozen bearing, thank goodness, is coming out. So I don't even know if I'm going to use the other one, but let's move that down. Move that in the lower part, and then we'll put this up on the top. Now you can see that bearing coming out, and it looks like it's pulling the axle with it, so I'm going to give that a luff tap. I thought I loosened that up, but pulling the axle right out, but compared to, if you were here yesterday, you would see what an absolute nightmare that is. And why that is so you have an aluminum knuckle with a steel bearing. So when you get a little bit of salt and water up here in the northern Pennsylvania, or actually anywhere in the New England area, that is the problem that you are going to run into. Let me get this wound back a little bit more. And then we'll move this back up. And we'll work this one. And I think I like this better than any of the sledgehammer options, just because I think basically that is it. And then that bearing is out and off. My goodness, that was so easy. All right, so I said I was going to review both tools, but you know what? This is definitely high class, definitely gets the job done. That probably is a last resort because there's a lot of banging and stuff involved with that. But this was, I mean, that is the most frozen bearing I've encountered. And you can see the corrosion ring on the inside of that was absolutely atrocious. And that thing worked almost frustration free. But anyway, yeah, Brian from Garage Mall. Thanks for watching and be safe out there. Okay.